You know, rock and roll ain't noise pollution, kids. I might write a song about that later, but not right now. Right now it's podcast time, and I got a lot more questions to answer, so let's get to it, shall we? Hello, you're listening to the John Huff Podcast. Oh, yay. I promise it's not going to be all question and answer episodes, okay? We have not changed format. We have not focus grouped and decided to go full Q&A. And later we'll do like a call-in show. We're not doing that. It's just kind of timely, and it's worked out this way, all right? This is an evolution. We go with the flow around here. Agendas are loose, all right? And it's difficult to get back into the swing. We were cooking along, doing the superficial histories, doing the different episodes, and then I went away on tour, and you kind of lose the momentum, right? You lose the impetus. And I thought I'd have a lot more kind of big road stories to tell by the time I got back, and it didn't work out that way. It's a little bit Groundhog Day. I've talked about this before, all right? But it's not going to be all Q&A, all right? Last week we tried it. It was fun. I had a good time. I got some good feedback on that. Delivered what some people thought was useful information. And that's my impetus here, kids. Trying to make it useful for you. So I put out the call, any more questions, and it turns out there are, all right? But I'll tell you now, if this format's not your bag, I am working on a couple of superficial history ideas. I don't know if they have legs yet. I won't know until I dig a little bit deeper. So, I'm looking at some of that stuff. I'm getting back into listening to some music, So there's more traditional stuff coming. Might even do a couple of interviews. I'm thinking about it. Haven't done interviews in a while, but I'm thinking about doing that. So, we'll see. If you want me to do some interviews, let me know, all right? I'm thinking about it. We're wide open here, all right? We're not format. We're just doing what we do. But for now, I got some Q&A, some more follow-up to last week's episode where we talked a little bit about touring in Europe and some of the interesting stuff that goes with that. Now, what's happening this week, I'm excited to tell you, is that I got some questions on the practical side of things, and I got them mostly from musician friends of mine, and that's exciting to me because I think it means people are considering it, okay? And what I want to say right off the top is that it's possible, okay? If I've learned anything from doing now 4 tours in Europe, it's that it's possible to do, all right? The proof is right in front of me, and you can take that proof for yourself. It's time people re-understood the difference between the word impossible and the word difficult, okay? So people look at this notion of spending a few weeks touring around Europe and they say, oh, that's impossible. It ain't impossible. It's difficult. It's definitely not an easy thing to make happen, but is a possible thing to make happen, okay? So if you're on the fence about this, if you're looking longingly across the ocean back at the old world, and you think, I would love to go there and do that, stop right now with this notion of impossibility, okay? It's 100% possible. Think your world into existence, kids, all right? I've been there, I've done it, I've seen it with my own eyes, and I know it is possible to do. So take heart, all right? Take that from me. If you are an indie artist, if you are an indie band, yes, it is possible for you to go to Europe and play shows, and I'm recommending that you give it a shot, okay? Now, before we go any further, because a lot of these questions are on the technical, aspect of this. How do we do this? How do we do that? I want to tell you straight up, that is not my area of expertise, okay? While I have done this tour 4 times with Sarah Smith, the details of it, the business of it, the logistics of it belong to Sarah Smith, okay? My job is to be hired by Sarah to go there and to play her music to the best of my ability, all right? To load gear, to be a good egg, to meet the fans, to do all that fun stuff, but primarily to play the music, all right? So I do not have intimate knowledge of her arrangements, of her business aspects, of how that all goes. I have peripheral knowledge and I have observation, okay? So I can begin to point you in directions. But if you really want to know the nitty-gritty, you got to talk to somebody who has handled the nitty-gritty. And the chances are good, if you're in the music scene at all, you probably know somebody who's done it or know somebody who knows somebody. And maybe I can help you, if you have further questions, I can maybe direct you in directions, But I do not have the business or logistical acumen to speak definitively on this stuff. I have impressions and observations, and I can give them to you, okay? So if you're sitting comfortably, let's begin. I want to start with an important set of questions collectively from Newport Electric. All right, Newport Electric is a great London roots rock and roll band, friends of mine, fronted by the great John Couture. Now, John Couture, if you're listening, I'm going to plug again the release of the record we made. It's getting to be years ago now, man. Now, a few years ago, John Couture called up my dear friend Paul Aitken, guitarist extraordinaire, called up the brilliant pianist composer Brent Jones, called up Simon Larachette, said, lads, want to make a solo record, okay? He had been doing the Newport Electric thing. They're a great band, put out a lot of really, really good music, have a nice little following here in the area. Called me up and said, hey, man, would you like to play drums on a solo record that I'm putting together? And I said, of course I would, John Couture. And so we got together at the Sugar Shack in London, and we put together what I think is a great little record. I can't say that definitively because I can't remember, because it's been years since I heard any of the stuff, and I'd like to hear it. So John Couture, drop a single, man. Just do something. You've been sitting on this record for way too long. Newport Electric, collectively, writes to me and asks the big one. And the big one is, how does a Canadian band even organize a Euro tour? And the answer to that question, Newport Electric, if you're Denny Gautier, is, well, you do it. You do it, man. It is difficult to pull off, but again, it is not impossible. Now, the follow-up question is, who books the venues? And that is a great place to start. Speaking for Sarah, at least on the tours that I've done, okay, she's gone through booking agents. Several different ones. They exist. You can go through like a full-on agency, or you can go through independent bookers who book certain venues, right? And have the inside track on getting you shows there. And yeah, you will pay that booker a percentage, probably a healthy one, of whatever your guarantee is or whatever the deal is, whether it's ticketed, whatever, man. Around here, indie bands tend to book their own shows. I think that's possible to do in Europe as well. But with no track record over there, might be easier to go through a booker who has the inside, can open the doors for you, get you some shows booked, all right? Here's a caveat, all right? If you're an indie band going over there, I think it's reasonable to expect to lose a little money, all right? Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think it's reasonable to expect to lose a little money, okay? Things are expensive. There are overheads. If you're using a booking agent, that's going to cost you. And if you are, renting a tour vehicle, that's going to cost you. If you are renting gear, that's going to cost you. We'll talk more about some of that stuff later, okay? If you go into this with the mindset that we're doing this one time for the sheer experience of doing it, which is totally legit and worthwhile, by the way. We are a band. We can only, we all work regular jobs. Collectively, we can make maybe 2 weeks happen where we can do this and go and simply have the experience of playing shows in Europe, which is a great experience, man. People come to shows. People come that have never heard of you. And especially if you come from some exotic foreign place like Canada, people want to come and check you out. So you can legit play shows where there will be people. This is possible, right? And if you're thinking, as a band, we're adults, we do not do this for a living, we just want to have the experience, then maybe it's okay to go and lose money in the process, but have the experience, man. And while I'm thinking of it, take merch. Take merch. Merch is the gravy, okay? In a lot of venues, you'll get guarantees. There will be, tickets, whatever. You will get paid. And the merch maybe puts you over the top, maybe breaks you even or gets you at least close. But it's worth taking a loss to go and have the experience. Now, if you're a career person and you're trying to break into Europe, it's also worth taking a loss. But you've got to look at it as a long-term game, all right? You gotta play the long game. I've done 4 tours with Sarah Smith in Europe, okay? Full band. Sarah's done like 11 tours in Europe. Initially as a solo artist, playing to nobody, driving around, hooking up with other people. Then she was a duo, building a track record, building a presence. This takes time. This is a matter of years. And if you're looking at this as, I want to make a living as a musician, and I want Europe to be a big part of my schedule, then you have to take the long view, and you have to be prepared to lose, man. Because you likely will. Solo or duo has lower overhead. Fewer people to pay, all right? Fewer plane tickets, right? So, there's a financial logistics that goes into like a 5-piece band versus a 1 or 2-piece band, okay? But if your aspiration is a career in music and you want Europe to be part of that and you're an indie, then you got to take the long view. You're going to go over there for 2 or 3 weeks. You're going to get your feet wet. You're going to play some shows. They might not be great shows and you might lose on them, but your goal is long term. You're looking 3 or 4 years down the line where you have a track record like Sarah, where you're beginning to get a reputation like Sarah, where you're connecting with industry people like Sarah and beginning to book better shows. Now, we're booking into soft seat theaters, some really nice rooms. That is a process of building. I've only been a part of building, for 3 years previous to this. Sarah's been doing the legwork a lot longer. So decide what this is to you. If you're a band going for one shot to say you did it, lose a bit of money and it's okay. If you're a band looking long term, then remember the long term. This is not a one and done. This is losing now to gain later, okay? Either way, a booking agent or 2 or 3 is going to help you get in some doors, okay? Talk to people who have gone and done it. Find out who they worked with. A lot of people will be happy to pass on their booking agent because they love their booking agent and they want that person to make a little more money, stay in business. You know what I mean? Newport Electric asks about accommodation. All right. In my experience, very, very often the contract for the gig includes an accommodation. Okay. Now I know what you're thinking. The skin just crawled up the back of your spine. You're thinking, oh man, not a band room. Please tell me not a band room, because if you tour around North America and you've stayed in the band room, a lot of the time you've needed to be hosed off later. You know what I mean? Tends to be a scary proposition. My experience of Europe has been much different. Now, again, Sarah, by the time I came into the picture, had reached a point where things were somewhat elevated. A lot of the time we're staying in a B&B. A lot of the time we're staying in a reasonably nice or perhaps even very nice hotel situation, which is part of the contract, all right? Sometimes we're paying for rooms. Most times we're not. So, talk to your booking agent. Get that booking agent to book rooms where accommodation is included. And a lot of the time food is included too, okay? They will feed you. They will sleep you. Especially in Germany, what I'm beginning to understand about Germany is that the government subsidizes a lot of venues, okay? You can make some money in Germany because the clubs can absorb the loss because they're being compensated by the government. So there's, good money to be made in Germany. Once you reach a level, I don't know what it was like in the early days for Sarah. Now it seems as though there's money to be made on a lot of the shows because the venues can take a loss. So there'll be a guarantee of X hundred euros because the venue doesn't necessarily have to make that up. There is a government situation which is helping that. So Germany is a good place to go and look, okay? But accommodation is usually included as part of the show contract. Often a very nice hotel, often a B&B. Sarah's made enough contacts and friends there that there are times when we stay with friends who are happy to put us up, just like when you were 21, driving around sleeping on couches. But when you're 48, you're sleeping on maybe a bed in somebody's house, So you step up just a little bit. We've never really had undignified. There was one time. There was one time on the first tour when the lads endured a somewhat undignified billet, all right? That's one time out of 4 tours. So accommodation is generally included, all right? Transportation. Newport Electric is really, ticking the boxes here. Like, I think these guys want to do it, and I think they should. Sarah rents a tour van, all right? It's probably expensive, and it's going to take a hit out of your budget for this thing, okay? Depends on what you need. We take a pretty big van because we take a lot of gear, okay? We take a full PA. We sometimes have visitors, so we need to accommodate those people for 10 days or whatever. Sarah takes a relatively big cargo van. Nice windows on the side, We have a relationship with the company from whence she rents it, right? And, one of the reasons that we go for 6 weeks on these tours is that more shows equals more money equals a chance to break even or make a little bit of profit, right? So if you're going for 2 weeks, I don't know how much the van's going to cost you if you go that route, but you're going to need something, right? And again, if you're an indie band just doing this to do it, you share that loss and you absorb it. Or maybe you do like a fundraiser, or maybe, write this down, kids, a touring grant. These things exist, at least in Canada. Go through Factor, whatever. Apply for a touring grant. Maybe you get a couple of grand, and that covers a lot of your overhead costs, okay? If you're a 5-piece band and you're buying plane tickets, you're out, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 grand right off the top. So if the government is slipping you $2,500 or more for a touring grant, covers a lot of your costs, okay? So look into that, get your ducks in a row. Again, it's difficult, but not impossible. So we rent a van. There was a question about gear. There's a couple of questions about gear because people don't want to drag their gear on the airplane, especially us drummers, okay? With the Sarah Band, we rent a lot of the gear, all right? I've seen people take their own guitars. Kay, the great Kay Howell, played a guitar on the last tour. She took that with her on the plane, all right? Planes are very accommodating. Planes will mostly let you take them on board with you, not store them in cargo, but take them on board. And we flew KLM. KLM is my favorite airline. The Viking girls love the KLM. And I think they put Kay's guitar in the co-pilot seat. Like they took it from us with reverence. It's like, oh, it's a guitar. We'll look after you. Like, people on KLM are genuinely friendly and accommodating and want to help. Whoa! How many airlines have you been on where you felt like they were friendly and accommodating and wanted to help? But man, they looked after Kay's guitar, man. And I've seen them look after guitars for Sarah, guitars for the great Denny Gauthier. So you can take guitars with you, all right, if you want to. Or depending on where you're renting gear from, you can rent them on the other side, okay? Sometimes that's a good thing to do. Like, you don't want to take amps and stuff. The power is different. You need adapters. You want, ultimately, a lot of that heavy gear to be rented on the other side, and it works, okay? You're not going to have any issues, and you don't have to drag a freaking Marshall stack through the airport. Or a set of drums. Now, I know artists who do take drums. They like take the heads off, nest them inside each other, put them in a case, and they pay to do that. And that's up to your drummer, really. It's up to the drummer whether he or she is down to have their gear carried that way. Maybe you got road cases, it's up to you. I play a very small setup over there. We rent a very small setup as part of the larger gear rental. And I don't know what that's going to cost you, man. Depends on how long you're going for, depends on what you get. You don't necessarily have to rent a PA. Sarah does, because obviously that opens up a lot more shows. We can play a room that doesn't have a PA because we have one with us and we can do our own sound, and that's fine. Maybe you don't want to carry a PA. Maybe you don't want to play rooms that don't have that. That limits you somewhat, But again, still possible to do. You talk to your booking agent. You say, these are the kinds of gigs we're hoping to play. This is the kind of equipment need that we need, from those venues. And you make it work. I think it's possible to do that, okay? So yeah, rent the gear. You need people, all right? When you get on the other side, you need people. Now, if you're a label band and you've got management and you've got agents and you've got all of these industry people behind you, the connections, I think, tend to be there and they'll look after it for you. As an indie, as you know, you got to handle the business yourself, man. So you need people on the other side. You need booking agents. You need gear people, all right? You need trusted advisors who can point you in the right directions. And again, the way to find those people is to talk to people who've done the tours, okay? And they will most often be happy to help you do it, all right? So that's Newport Electric. Go listen to their music. They're a great band. Really like those Cats, some friends of mine. Johnny Thunder. Release that record, will you? I had a question from the great and powerful Ann Menez, with whom I founded the band Nimue, and we released a really cool EP some years back, and there's a full-length Nimue record coming. I'm not in that band anymore, but I love Ann so much, and she is something else, man. Ann Menez, go listen to her music, go listen to Nimue, all right? Ann looks like maybe she's talking about it too. She asked me the gear rental question, which I just answered. She asked me, what are the rest stops like? That's a compelling question, What's it like when you pull into the truck stop off the Autobahn? And the answer is, it's nice. It's more or less like an en route, here in Ontario. It's clean. You walk in, but you gotta pay. I talked on the last episode about paying the 0.7 euros to use the bathroom, get through the turnstile. Then they spit you out a 50-cent voucher. They make 0.2 on every urination, kids. They spit you out a 0.5 voucher. You take that to the counter. You put that. Maybe you keep a collection of them. Get yourself a free coffee, And you'll get food there. There'll be like a convenience store kind of area where you can get all the things and some things that you can't get here, man. Fun European chocolat. And there'll be like a hot food counter where you might be able to get your currywursts or some other, like a fricadelle. You can get really good food. They may have a full-on, cafeteria happening. The rest stops are great, man. And the coffee is dynamite. If you get coffee at a truck stop convenience store in North America, you might as well just pour it on your head for all the good it will do you. A European coffee from a truck stop machine. Put in your euros, tell them you want the, milk cafe or a cappuccino or just a straight up coffee, man. And out will come something really, really nice. Now, Gwendolyn, our old friend Gwendolyn, said, what makes the coffee better? Simple answer is, I think they make it strong enough. They take coffee seriously over there, okay? It's very dignified. It's a dignified continent for the most part. And so they don't give you dishwater coffee. You know what I mean? They give you nice, good, potent, powerful coffee because it's part of their culture. And even at the truck stop, where you go in and pay 0.7 euros to use the bathroom, you come straight back out and you get a nice cup out of the dang machine. Very dignified, man. Ann wonders about COVID measures, and I don't know if I should even talk about that because, that could change tomorrow. Could change by the time I release this, As I said in the last episode, the Netherlands is pretty much wide open, right? So we played a few shows there that were packed out with people dancing, no masks. I think you probably had to show your papers, all right? I think you had to show your vax papers. I think you had to show a negative test if you're not vaccinated. So there was, at least peripheral COVID measures, but inside the club, wide open, out on the street, wide open. Didn't see a lot of masks in the Netherlands, okay? When we went to the airport in Amsterdam, yes, you had to be masked there. When we rode trains in the Netherlands, yes, we had to be masked there, but otherwise pretty much wide open, all right? Germany, far more Ontario. Saw a lot more masks in venues, but the same kind of rules apply, You sit at your table, you take the masks off, you know what I mean? A lot more masks in stores, a lot more masks in public, and we definitely had to show our vax papers to sit in restaurants. It was very much the same as here. What I can say is that we bounced back and forth between Netherlands and Germany, more restricted, less restricted. We were in close contact with people. A lot of hugs, kids, a lot of hugs. And 2 days before we flew home to Canada, a full-on PCR test was required, and we all tested neg, all right? Now, we had a contingency plan. If somebody rang up a P, we were going to go to P, we were going to go to Portugal and quarantine for a couple of fun, warm weeks. Kind of pulling for a P in that case, you know what I mean? Didn't happen. We all came away neg. So it was all right, But it just felt normal in Germany, like normal as in the way it feels here. We're beginning to loosen up here, thank goodness, and they probably are there too. Netherlands was more of a free-for-all, and it was fine, okay? One more from Anne, the great Anne Menez. She says, how do you keep clean? How do you keep clean? And what's going on there is that you are viewing the concept of touring through a North American lens. Now, what's the stereotype of a North American band on the road? It's a broken down van that will conk out on you twice. It's a whole lot of filthy human beings who haven't showered in days, living in that van, smelling horrendous. If they have billets, staying in these awful freaking places where the blankets crawl away on their own. Band houses and that sort of thing, and they're eating McDonald's once a day because they're starving and broke. Not my experience in Europe, okay? That's probably the experience for some people in Europe, right? But if you are, let's say, an older person with a little bit of means and the foresight to save up some money, doesn't have to be that way. We keep very clean because every night we stay in a reasonably nice or perhaps very nice hotel. So there are showers every day, mostly, or we stay at billets where that's cool. There's no worries there. We keep our van clean, all right? Now, people bring us a lot of food. Some of it is perishable. Got to keep your eye on that, kids, all right? We keep the van very clean. The van is a sacred freaking space. It is a crime against touring to let the van become a pigsty, all right? Treat the freaking van with respect. That's where you spend most of your time. It's kind of your little apartment, man. And every tour we've gone on, everybody's had their own kind of little space, Sometimes I sit up front, and that's my space for the tour, or back left, or whatever. That space is your responsibility, man. Do not let it become a pigsty, all right? You're an adult. Act like a freaking adult. Keep it clean, keep it tidy, because A, that's just civilized behavior, and that's respectful to your bandmates. And if you're ever a rider in the van with the band, respect the freaking space, okay? People don't understand how important the van is. The van is a sacred freaking space, okay? The van is the one place where you are kind of sealed off. Quite literally, kind of sealed off, all right? Touring demands that you are on most of the time, all right? You're in venues and you're on. You're playing shows and you're on. You're meeting fans and you're on, you're on, you're on. There are a lot of strange people in your face, man. And I don't mean strange in terms of they are strange. I mean people you don't know. A lot of strangers in your face. on the road, even as a side player, even as the background guy. The drummer is as background as it gets. You've always got new people in your face. You always have to remember your responsibility to the artist you are playing with, or to the reputation of your band if you're there with a band. You gotta be on. You gotta be up. You gotta be friendly. There are pressures on you. There are social pressures on you. Sometimes you gotta do press. Like that happens, even at our level. Sometimes you gotta do press. And there's a lot of demand on you, okay? And you're out in the world, and I talked about how great the truck stops are, but sometimes you're standing in line, and the person you're about to talk to does not speak English. You go a lot of places where people speak English better than you do. But in some cases, you're among people who don't speak English that well. That is a pressure. And you got to be on, and you got to try to figure it out. And there are times, even if you know a little bit of German, like I'm beginning to, you find yourself in situations where you don't know what's going on. The people don't speak English. Your German's not enough to handle it. And it's just pressure. And after a while, if you've been on the road for 4 or 5 weeks, you're tired because the sleeping is not the same. You've done a lot of van miles. You've played a lot of freaking shows. You get tired. You find yourself in these situations and you just want out of them. I just want out of this pressure situation. There's been way too much pressure. And you begin to feel that. Well, the refuge, the safe space is the van, okay? So you respect the freaking van because you all pile in the van together. And that is where you are together. That is your safe space. So don't foul up the freaking van, all right? Keep it sacred, whether you're in the band or whether you're a rider. Respect the freaking van. So, and we stay clean because we stay in dignified circumstances and we make a point of it. That's the basic answer. I don't know what it's like on the first tour. Sarah did the first tour. She'll have to tell you what it's like the first time around. But eventually, you reach a point where hopefully you're staying in good places, you're playing in good rooms, and you have regular access to a shower. And I said last time there are 3 things that you take advantage of every freaking time. Shower, bathroom, laundry. All right? Especially, I think, on the first run or two, you may have less access to those things than I'm accustomed to. So you jump on it. And remember, Kay Howell's tour hack, get yourself a can of Febreze. It makes a big difference. Thank you, Anne, for that. Gwendolyn, I already said, asked about the coffee. And she asked also about the laundry situation. Laundry's compelling, all right? Pretty much every tour, there's reached a point where I've had to go into the hotel sink and do some washing. Other people have had to do that too. Laundry can be a little bit dicey to come by, especially if you're there on a 6-week run. If you're gone for 2 weeks, you're probably fine. Like I try to pack 2 solid weeks of underwear and socks. Denny Goche manages to go 6 full weeks on just a backpack that includes his pedal board. Denny's a marvel. I'm not sure he's human, all right? The rest of us, I try to pack 2 weeks of socks and underwear. And usually in the space of 2 weeks, we will find ourselves at a billet that has laundry or at a friend's place who has laundry. A lot of times, our booking agent will take our laundry for us and do it. Not all of it, you know what I mean? It's like I can do a bit of laundry for you and you gather up the essentials that need doing. Usually socks and underwear, man. Those are the key things, just like in a war. Socks and underwear, And you can get laundry done that way. We've had to go to a German laundromat before, and that was like Lord of the Flies. Like we were on our way someplace. Laundry, we were, I don't know, 3, probably 4 weeks in. Like it was getting to be a problem at this point. We had to do laundry. So we went to a German laundromat in some town. We found one. And we go in and we got to get to a show, man. We got 3 more hours of driving we got to get to a place on time. And then it was a war with the locals to get a freaking machine. We had to I don't know if we had to pay somebody off or threaten them. You have to elbow some people out of the way and get your stuff in the washing machine. Or you're going to have to wait in line, man. That was our one experience, all right? And then the clothes were ravaged. I don't know if we had the wrong settings on the machine, something like that. But, my socks came out all faded and stuff. So you got to be careful. Don't put anything delicate into a German washing machine in a German laundromat, okay? But again, depends on how long you're going and, learn to do the hand washing. But you get yourself a problem because the place you're at might offer you laundry, and that's terrific. But the vast majority of places and homes don't seem to have dryers. You're like, all right, great, we can do laundry. Super. Well, you can't, though, because you get them washed, but they ain't dry, and we're leaving at 7 a.m. for the next gig, so it doesn't always go your way. What I got to do, if you spy on the calendar that you're staying a couple nights in one place, which happens from time to time, that's your opportunity to do some hand washing and either hang it or drape it across a hotel heater, and you wash just enough. Usually you're talking about this. It's like we got laundry in a week and a half. That's on the horizon. We're staying with a friend who's got laundry. All right, I'm going to need 3 pairs of socks, so I'm going to hand wash those, dry them up on the hotel heater, get me to the next stop, you know what I mean? It becomes a real thing, though, man. Like, having clean clothes is important. You need that, just to feel freaking human. So you learn the hand washing, and you begin to plot laundry stops when you can get them. Again, if you're there for a long time. If you're a band that's out for 6 months and you're playing arenas, a lot of the times there's laundry in the venue. We're not playing arenas yet. So you got to kind of find it where you can find it and do it when you can do it. And remember the part where they may not have a dryer and think about whether you can accommodate that somehow, okay? Gwendolyn asks, do we ever get lost? Once in a while. What we notice about German and Dutch cities, and we've been in Austria and we've been in the Czech Republic, we've seen a lot of places. No grids, man. No grids. Everything's a circle. Everything's a spider web. You walk around Berlin, and you're going to a certain point that you can see in the distance, a spire. And so you walk around the corner because you're heading in that direction, and then when you get around the corner, the road doesn't go straight. It spiders off into 6 other roads that all go in circles. So it's very easy to get kind of lost along the way. But that's why God created GPS, man. That's why God created Google Maps. That brings up another consideration. Cell phone data. Oh. On the last tour, we had some fans furnish us with a phone with European data. Very helpful, and you got to look at your cell phone provider and decide how you're going to accommodate maybe needing to use data to handle your GPS. The days of a dude holding a map in the passenger seat are over. GPS is great, but you have to make it work somehow, so you may have to think about, again, your data. Who's going to pay for that? How are we going to pay for that? How are we going to make that work? But we rarely get lost because even with the cockamamie roads over there, GPS handles it for us, okay? I had a question from the great Jeff Call, with whom I played briefly in Lindsay and the Lonelies, and Jeff also has a practical question, which is, hey, do European gigs pay more? And I think the answer is probably yes, especially in Germany, as I said, where a lot of the venues are subsidized by the government. I really think that's true. I've heard this, and I think I've seen it with my own eyes. So there's more money available, and people actually come to shows. I'm amazed when I see us setting up a room and, showtime will be in an hour and there's just nobody in the place. And we're like, it's going to be one of those nights, man. And then by the time we go on, there's people. There is much more of a go out live music culture happening over there. And I say get in on it while you can, man, because you know what's happening in Canada, even before COVID, harder and harder and harder and harder to get your friends or to get anybody to come out to see a dang show, man. I got Netflix, I got PS5. I got Apple. I don't need to go to a show. There's a football game on, And then you wind up playing at a sports bar while the football game is on. Nobody's listening to you, but they're cheering randomly throughout that's very, very discouraging for an artist, kids. Tough to play those gigs, man. Generally speaking, Jeff Call, I think Europe does pay better. I think there are more audiences. I think there's more money available for performers. But again, I'm catching the ride halfway through, okay? I don't know what the experience was like for Sarah touring as an unknown solo artist over there. Can't say for sure. But I know, again, if you take the long view, if you make this a regular thing and you find ways to go, a couple years in a row, 3 years in a row, even for short stints, begin to make a track record, begin to find an audience, I think you will find that the financial compensation goes up quickly and reaches better levels than it does in North America, okay? And again, most venues will feed you, and accommodation is generally included in the contract, all right? Europe is the place to be, kids. Europe is the place to go and play. All right, I got one more question. Just one more, kids. It's an important one. It comes from the great Adam Stanley. Adam is a UK-based drummer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist. Great dude, great player, writes some really freaking cool rock and roll, man. Go follow Adam Stanley Drums on the Instagram, okay? Great dude, doing some really cool stuff. He says, do you have a favorite tour bathroom? That's what it's all about, man. Do you have a favorite tour bathroom? And the answer to that question is, yes, I do. There is a bathroom that I both love and loathe in Europe. And I've talked about this place before, all right? It's in the town of Schmoln, Deutschland. Go and listen to my Bone Music episode where I talked all about Schmoln and the experiences we had there the first time around. Pretty harrowing, okay? But the bathroom in the music club Schmoln is like stepping into another dimension. So you walk in, I think it's a unisex bathroom. Like, it's a big open bathroom. And I think girls, dudes can all be in there at the same time. A lot of fun, kids, a lot of fun. But you walk into the urinal section, okay? It's like you step up and, how do I describe this to you? You walk in and it's like being at an amusement park almost. It's really weird. So the wall is kind of curved and there are urinals, at urinal height. And the wall is white, but embedded are all of these. What are they? They look like marbles, but they're like the size of a walnut and they're blue. And there are hundreds of them, all right? So you're staring into these blue, like jewels, like blue marbles. And they are positioned such and reflective such and embedded in a white wall such that they trip you the freak out, man. Remember those old, those like 3D pieces of art where you could kind of blur your eyes a little bit and then there was something would pop out of it like a dinosaur or something? It's like that. Your eyes begin to do that. But no picture pops out. You just sort of sit there, blurry, in a weird haze, and you start to trip out, man. Like if you went in there on mushrooms, or if you went in there on like LSD, I think you would freak out. Or you'd have a great time, depending on how you react to mushrooms and or LSD. But I've stood in that bathroom, tired, exhausted from tour, already half tripped out anyways, maybe with a glass of wine in me, and I've stood amongst those marbles, and I've just gone down rabbit holes, man. I've gone into dimensions. It is trippy as hell. If you ever get a chance to go anywhere near Schmoln, Germany, go to the music club. You don't even have to watch the act. Just go to the bathroom. Just go in there, stand at the urinals, and be freaked out by the marbles that suck you into other dimensions. That is my favorite tour bathroom in Europe, okay? And that's a fun club, and we had a couple of really great shows there, all right? It's a cool room, like this rock and roll club. Also, I think like a blues club, whatever. It's small, but they pack it out. It's another one of these rooms where we're like, who on earth is coming to see the Sarah Smith band from Canada in this room. And then we go up to play and it's full. People go to live music, man. And if you're from overseas, ooh, there's just a veneer of exotic on you. And people want to come see that, man. So, Adam and anybody else, book a club, book a show at Music Club Schmolln, and then go in there and see that bathroom. And, you know, you might just see yourself in there, man. You might meet God. And by God, of course I mean Emily Dolan Davis. Those are the questions. I want to thank everybody for sending them in. I hope that information was useful to you. You know, if you have follow-ups, drop me a line. I may not do any more Q&As for a while. Again, I'm working on some other stuff. Hopefully that's helpful. Again, just remember that it's possible, okay? It is 100% possible for you, indie band, you, indie artist, to go to Europe and play and do well. It is possible. It is not the same as here. Now, as ever, I can't let you go without tipping you off to some new music, okay? Now, earlier this year, I did an episode called When Did Glam Metal Die? Or When Glam Metal Died, something like that. It wasn't all that long ago. It was kind of, you know, the frayed edge of the superficial history. It was the beginnings. That and my Elvis episode, I think, were the beginnings of these superficial histories. Maybe some of the big band stuff I talked about. The catalyst for the When Did Glam Metal Die episode was a song by a Swedish band called Crazy Lixx, man. Earlier this year, Crazy Lixx released one of my favorite songs of the year. It's called Anthem for America. And there's a lyric in there that said someone pulled the plug around 1993 and it's never been the same. For me, that was the catalyst. That was the catalyst for a foray into, hey, when did glam metal actually die? And if you want to know my thoughts on that, go listen to that episode. I love that tune by Crazy Lixx. It is a freaking banger, man. And these guys are an unabashed glam metal band for the modern era, okay? They've been around a long time. They dropped 6 or 7 records, like 2002 they started. Sweden is the home of rock and roll these days, man. And Crazy Lixx finally released the album, Street Lethal. Came out last week, I think. And hey, man, if you are into that kind of glam sound, great freaking singer. I wish I could sing like that. I can sing okay, you know what I mean? I can't really sing rock and roll. Annoys me. My voice isn't high enough. I don't have that rasp and register, you know what I mean? Might be okay kind of fronting a Newport Electric kind of band, but I can't do that glam, the stuff I love so much. I just don't have the range. Crazy Lixx has a great singer, great riffs, just pounding. Street Lethal is the new record, and if you just want to have fun, throw your hands up in the air and rock out for an hour or so, check out the Crazy Lixx record, Street Lethal. Ton of fun, some great musicianship happening, you know. Everybody bags on the glam. Everybody bags on the glam because of the way they looked or whatever. Everybody overlooks how those freaking cats could play, man. Man, those guys could play and sing and do it live, you know? Crazy Lixx is like that. Great players, great voice, banging rock and roll album that throws back to the glory days, man. So if you want to raise your fist and yell, go check out the Crazy Lixx record, Street Lethal, okay? And Anthem for America is legit one of my favorite songs of the year. It's on the John Huff podcast, referenced on the podcast playlist. You will find it there. And that's a great tune. And it is a nice introduction to a pretty great little record, all right? So kudos to you, Crazy Lixx. One last thing before I go. Hold on to your hats, kids. I have a gig announcement. Whoa! If you're in London town on the weekend, Ken the Zen and Johnny Strange ride again at the Doghouse. That's Ken the Zen and me, Ken from the Sarah Band, doing our 2-man dog and pony show where we hand out a list of like 150 songs. You call them out, we'll take a shot at playing them. You know what I mean? It's a good time. It's a lot of fun. We do silly stuff. We do our bad accents, even worse puns. We raise a glass. We have a good time singing some of your favorite songs, or trying to at least. And it's going to be fun, man. Live music is coming back. and we're expecting a lot of people. We're expecting a really good time. So if you're in town Saturday night, come check out Ken the Zen and Johnny Strange doing our duo thing. I'm going to get out of here, man. I appreciate everybody's questions. I appreciate everyone's interest in my experience touring in Europe. I want you to know how possible it is, man. Not easy, but possible. You plan for it, you make the right connections, and you can do it, kids. It is possible to do. If I have done it, freaking anybody can do it, okay? And what I'm going to do right now is go listen to maybe some Crazy Lixx, man. Might even write a few Crazy Lixx. You know what I mean? Want to thank you for listening. I'm going to shutting up. Have yourselves a fine week. Listen to some good rock and roll music. Go see a live show. And I'll check you later. Yeah. Someone pulled the plug around 1993. But see, it's got to be like an octave higher.